everybody, Wannabe Reviewer here, and welcome back to the Wannabe Podcast, episode 63. Now, before we begin this week's podcast, really quickly, I just want to give a big thank you to Charific. For those of you who tuned in last week, for episode 62, Charific was on as my guest, and I just think that he did a wonderful job, talking about what he's been up to, giving his opinion on some of the news stories, and of course, a big one was us just sitting down and talking about what we think of the whole, Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC thing that a lot of people seem to be upset about. So having him on and having him here to just discuss stuff, and, we played off of each other when it came to like the show and stuff. I had a good time, having him on. So I just want to say a big thank you to Charific. I know that he says he's a little behind with my content, but hopefully he listens to this podcast episode soon and he hears my thank you, So Charific, thanks for being on once again. Always enjoy having you on. Hope to have you on more in the future. And yeah, for everyone who's listening, go check him out. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He has some really fun stuff over on his channel. Subscribe to him, all that good stuff. I think he really deserves it, With that being said, though, that out of the way, I do feel like we have quite a big week this time. Not only is there anime to, for me to follow up on from last week, but there's some new anime that I started watching. There's quite a few in terms of gaming news stories. It's been kind of a sad week for gaming. And yeah, it's just been a really busy week. So I feel like we have quite a podcast, ahead of us. So with that being said, let's just dive right into my week so we can get this started. When it comes to anime, I always like to start with anime. I guess I'll start with the anime that I mentioned last time, kind of follow up on them. So first on the list is Darwin's Game. So far, I've watched the first 2 episodes of Darwin's Game. For anyone who doesn't remember, I said that Darwin's Game was the anime about, it's kind of like a battle royale thing, fight to the death sort of anime. I mean, there's a few of those out there. And it's really interesting because even though it does have that battle royale-ness, fight to the death sort of thing happening, at the same time, it is indeed different from other stuff in like the genre. While something, like Mirai Nikki or I can't remember any other like battle royale ones at the moment, unfortunately. But unlike those other like battle royale type anime, where the whole point of the anime seems to be who's the last man left standing, everyone's fighting to like, be the one at the top that'll win like immortality or, whatever. Here it seems like there is more of a mystery to the series. It feels like the person, like seeing who's like number one, it seems like that's not really the goal here. It seems like there is other stuff going on. And it's also very different because unlike the other anime where people do have truces here and there, but it's kind of looked down upon because at the end of the day, it should be every man for himself. Here it is different where people seem to team up. There seems to be encouraged for them to have like little clans or whatever that work together. Fights don't always have to be to the death if they don't want if they don't want them to be fights to the death. Like our main character, he fights people a couple of times. And if the other person, kind of like withdraws or retreats or whatever, then, he's awarded points and money and stuff for winning, but it doesn't necessarily lead to the other person dying. So it is kind of interesting how, in this game, in this anime, there's definitely more going on. So like, I thought that was really interesting. And I also think it's interesting how, in other like fight to the death anime, it's just, people fight, they get killed. That's really it. And it feels like there's not really a lot of like rules except, just kill the other person. And the other person's just like dead. That's it. But here it's interesting how there's more to the game. Similar to like an actual like mobile game, like an actual video game. It's interesting how, every time they win a fight, they win like points and money. And they can actually use the money for like real life things, which is interesting. Like there's a point where the main character, like he's looking through like an inventory and he orders himself a gun. And sure enough, they mail him like a gun that he can use in battle. It's like, that's really interesting how he actually can like equip items. I thought was like weird. And he teams up with that girl, the girl with the chains or whatever. And she's supposed to be like a really top player. And because she has a lot of money, she says like, yeah, I can rent like a hotel and it's kind of like a safe zone. And it's like, that's a thing, So it's just kind of interesting to see how there's all these mechanics going on that you usually don't see in this genre. In this genre, usually it's, fight to the death, whoever loses, loses. they have a power to sometimes, that's it. But here, like there's inventories, there's like stuff they can equip. The money they win in the game can actually be translated to real life, that sort of thing. And yeah, like I said, then there's clans and stuff, so people can team up. So I don't know, I just find it interesting because it's different. It has different mechanics going on from the usual genre. And like I said, while every other anime in the genre seems to be about, who will be the top dog, who will be like the last man standing at the end of the day, here feels like there is more of a mystery of people trying to discover like who's running the game, why are they running the game, and I don't know, stuff like that, which I think is, like I said, I think it's interesting. So far, 2 episodes in, I'm enjoying Darwin's game. I wouldn't say it's like the best anime in the world, wouldn't call it like a big headliner or anything, but I do think it's a fun, kind of edgy, battle to the death sort of thing that if you kind of like that genre, you like thrillers and stuff, I think you'll enjoy it. So there you go. Next up on the list is Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, which once again, I'm still not entirely sure why it's called that. I think that might just end up being the name of these girls' anime they're making, or maybe that's the name of a character. I mean, maybe I just didn't pay attention, I don't know. But Keep Your Eyes Off Eizouken. That's the one that I said last week, that it's the one about these 3 girls. The main character, she's like the short girl. She's really good at drawing like backgrounds and environments and, kind of like the storyboards for anime. And she wants to make an anime. And her best friend is like this really tall girl. That even though the tall girl doesn't get it, she's really supportive. And, once the little team forms, she decides that she'll be a part of it because even though she doesn't really like anime per se, she figures that they can like always use a producer and like she's looking to make money off of the anime. So that's like the second girl. And the third girl is this like rich girl that her parents don't want her to like be in an anime club. They don't want her to spend time with like friends or anything. They just want her like to work as like a model and just study basically all the time. And this girl, she's of course good at drawing characters and, like character designs and stuff. And so like I said, basically these 3 girls meet, they team up. The 2 who are really into anime, they get to work, trying to create like a world or whatever. And the third girl, even though she's not really into anime, she figures that she'll be like the producer and she'll make some money off of it. And yeah, so far I really like this anime. I think it's really fun. Someone asked me, one of my subscribers, they said, so is it kind of like Bakuman? I want to say that's how you pronounce it, where it's about the 2 guys that they're trying to make this manga. And you follow them in the both in the manga and the anime as they're making these projects come to life. And what I said is that even though it kind of reminds me of that in the premise, Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken is different because while there are other, shows about making shows or making manga, I feel like those are usually a little more like down to earth and they're a little more serious. Like they're more realistic. It's about the characters and working together. And it's almost like a documentary where you're seeing like how stuff gets made and you see these characters. It really focuses on their feelings and how they want to make it big, that sort of thing. This one, on the other hand, while like I said, it has a similar premise, this is definitely like more lighthearted and more goofy. Like while it does show like the girls working together to like make, stuff happen, it's more about like the shenanigans they get into as they're forming like their little anime club almost. And it's more about them, and their daydreams / imagination as they like basically get like swept up into the world of the anime they're creating, So even though it does have a similar premise to stuff like Bakuman, this is more like goofy and lighthearted. And it is more about like the girls, getting into shenanigans. It's more about, like I said, the imagination about they get swept up into the story they're working on and, they feel like they're in it, that sort of thing. So it is more lighthearted and goofy and, it is a little different. But all the same, though, I've had fun with it so far. I think it's really fun. I think the characters, their dynamics are really cool. I really want to see where it goes. I think it's a really creative show so far. So, weird title. Like I said, it's called Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. But I recommend it. I think it's good. And a lot of people are already calling it like the anime of the season. It might be, it seems like it's really fun, very creative. I definitely want to watch it every week. I'm like waiting for more. So, if that sounds interesting to you, go check it out, There you go. Alrighty, next up, I want to give a little follow-up on Somali and the Forest Spirit. I talked about it last week, that's the one where there's like this little human girl in the woods, basically chained up. And in this universe, humans are either slaves or they get eaten. I mean, that's just the way it works. That's just kind of how it worked in their favor. Instead, the world is run by all sorts of mythical creatures. And while he's in the woods, you know, there's this guy called like the forest spirit, I guess. And he's like this golem, you know, like he's like this weird like metal body, I guess you can say. And while he's going through the forest, this forest spirit, he runs across this little girl, frees her, and decides that basically he's gonna make it his mission to find her parents and take her home. And in the meantime, you know, the girl really latches onto him, starts calling him dad, even though he's like this emotionless golem. He does have like a certain attachment to the little girl and does treat her like a daughter. And the first episode, you know, it's just kind of introducing the characters, introducing the world, showing how he starts taking care of this little girl. And, you know, he realizes that little kids are very, you know, curious. He decides that he's going to hold her hand. That way, you know, like she won't get lost, that sort of thing. He puts like a little hoodie on her that has like these little, not antlers, these like little horns. And I think he calls her like a little minotaur or whatever. Cause yeah, I mean, if she's found out she's a human, like really bad things could happen to her. And yeah, when the second episode picks off, it's really interesting because it seems like they've been traveling for a while. You know, you kind of just get the feeling based on their dynamic. And yeah, I mean, it's just really sweet. Where basically the little girl, you know, she hurts her leg and the forest spirit is taking care of her. This, like, I guess you can say potion maker, he runs into them, takes them back to his house. And yeah, it's just the little girl Somali, the forest spirit / golem, and these two potion makers. And it's just them interacting, you know, and we see that the little girl, the forest spirit doesn't really help her. I mean, doesn't really let her do anything, you know, because he just wants to take care of her. And he's worried that, you know, for instance, if she tends to the fire, she'll burn herself, that sort of thing. Like, he's really overprotective. So while she's there with the potion makers, you know, she really says like, oh, you know, I want to help with all the chores that I can. You know, I want to be useful because like my dad, he's always protective. He doesn't let me help him. And he always does everything for me. But I want to like learn to do things to pay him back. And meanwhile, like the forest spirit, you know, he takes it upon himself to learn how to make potions and stuff because he wants to be able to like help the little girl, you know, in case she gets sick or gets hurt or whatever. And it's like, that's really interesting. It's really nice seeing this bond where you can tell these two characters really like care for each other. And at the end of the episode, where it gets interesting is that the two potion makers, they're basically talking to like the forest spirit golem guy while the little girl's asleep. And they say, you know, like, like, what's your story? And he says, you know, I'm looking for her parents. I want to take her home. I don't know where her parents are, but I really want to like hurry and, you know, find a place for her to live or whatever. And when they ask him why he's in such a hurry, throughout the episode, we've seen that his body's kind of breaking apart. You know, it's like I said, it's like stone or whatever. Like it's chipping away. And he reveals that forest spirits only live 1,000 years. Like literally just 1,000 years. And then they kind of just like cease to exist. Like they move on. And he says that he only has basically like 120 days left to live. And it's like, that's why he's really putting it, you know, that's why he's kind of like trying to like hurry to bring this little girl home. Because, you know, he's worried that, you know, something bad's going to happen to her. And he like really wants to reunite her with her family. So far, you know, it's been a really interesting anime. Very sweet seeing the interaction, like I said, between this, you know, makeshift father and daughter. And the world is really interesting too, you know, just seeing all the characters and mythical creatures and everything going on. It's also very interesting. And yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. I would recommend it. Something that I am worried about, because one of my subscribers, you know, they brought it up. I really hope that it doesn't go that direction that a lot of other anime and manga do, where, oh, you know, there's this guy, he's taking care of a little girl, and it's not really his daughter, you know, but he's raising her like a daughter. And then later, like along the story, it's like, well, since they're not related by blood, I guess it's totally fine if when she's older, you know, like they hook up as like lovers, you know, they become a couple. Like, I really hope this doesn't do that, because I hate when stories do that. I think that's like it's just so cringy and so awkward, you know, how a lot of stories do that. It's just like, oh, I don't know, Japan just has this thing where it's like, well, if they're not blood related, it's fine, you know. Doesn't matter if basically like the guy raised her from childhood and, I don't know, groomed her as like a wife. Like, it's just so gross, you know. Really hope it doesn't go there. I'm thinking it's not, based on the fact that, you know, this is a golem spirit, so the two hooking up would be really weird. And not only that, but like I said, they did add that thing about how he has like a short time left to live. So I hope the story doesn't go there, but just want to throw that out there, that is like my one fear, that the story will go in like a weird direction like that. I mean, keeping my fingers crossed, hopefully it doesn't. And like I said, that aside, it is really sweet so far. It is a really fun anime, very creative. So yeah, I would say check out Somali and the Forest Spirit. It's really like heartwarming, really nice, and it's a really easy watch. So there you go. Alrighty, finally, the last of the anime from last week that I wanted to give a bit of a, follow-up to was Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. And Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, that's the one that kind of kept making me giggle because the name is just so weird and the premise is super strange. But that's the one about the girl that she, goes into the bathroom. There's this like myth or whatever that if you knock on the door 3 times and call Hanako, this like ghost will appear and it'll like make your wish come true. Sure enough, when she tries it, she's surprised to find that it's this little boy ghost and that, he doesn't even like really make your wish come true. Like he doesn't want to use magic. Like he tries his best to actually like help you with your wish or whatever. And by the end of the episode, basically this girl, she thought she was looking to get the attention of this boy, but she realizes that no, it's more of I was in love with the idea of love, blah, blah, blah. And he helps her out because she almost curses herself. And by the end, he says, in order to pay me back, I want you to become like my human assistant or human apprentice, something like that. And sure enough, the second episode is all about her, working as his apprentice. She cleans the bathroom where he resides. There's a point where like these little like rabbit spirit things, I guess people have made rumors about how like they're dangerous and they'll like kill you and that sort of thing. And so, he tasks her with spreading positive rumors. That way, the little creatures can continue to live or whatever. So like, you kind of see how she's interacting with the spirit world. And I guess the biggest thing that happens apart from that is that they introduce like a third main character, and he's basically like this exorcist that he tries to exorcise Hanako-kun, but the girl stops him and she says no, he's like a good spirit. And Hanako-kun himself says, like, hey, like I'm not gonna hurt you because I think you have like potential to like actually be like an exorcist in the future. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. But so far, I enjoy the story. I enjoy the artwork. I think the artwork is like very interesting. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy like the colors they use for everything. I guess the only negative I would say is that, yeah, they don't use a lot of animation, unfortunately. Like a lot of it is, people standing around or a lot of like just kind of like still shots and stuff. So it does make the show a little awkward. Like the animation isn't very fluid. They don't have like a lot of movement and stuff. That is like, I guess I would say like the biggest negative. But apart from that, I do enjoy the anime. I think, like I said, like the story's fun. Characters are good so far. Really like the aesthetic and like the colors and stuff. So, like I said, it may have a very weird title and premise, but at the end of the day, it's just about these ghosts and these people and how they kind of interact with like the human and spirit world. So if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. All right, the follow-ups to the old anime aside, I picked up 2 new anime this week, and, I kind of want to talk about them really quickly. The first is an anime called, in Japanese it has like this weird name, but in English it's basically translated to in/Spectre. It's supposed to be like a pun, in Spectre. Yeah. And this one I actually talked about a while back, when I first heard about how there was going to be an anime made about it. I think I covered it as a news story. And yeah, so far, the first episode leaves a lot of questions. So I'm really looking forward to more episodes so we can kind of like maybe get some stuff answered. But yeah, basically, the first episode, we follow this girl that I believe she's 17 now, but when she was 11, she actually disappeared for 2 weeks, and I guess she was dragged over to the site of like the spirit world, and basically the spirit said, we want you to be like our like goddess or whatever. We want you to like help us out and like be like I don't really know how to describe it, but basically, like the spirits want her to be the bridge between the human and spirit world. And whenever there's trouble with like spirits gone awry and stuff, I guess they want her to like help, take care of it. And in exchange, this is the part's kind of screwed up, they took one of her eyes and one of her legs. Because I guess by those parts remain in the other world, that's what like has the connection. Like I said, I don't really know. But yeah, this 17-year-old girl, she's hanging out or whatever, and she notices that this guy that she actually had a crush on, like back in the day, I think back when she was like 11, she notices him. And, you know, she asks him if he's single, even though he's like a few like years older than her. And he says, yeah, or whatever. And they're talking. And she says that she needs his help. And she basically tells him all about like the spirit world, all that stuff. She says that she sees something in him. And basically, yeah, like at the end of the episode, they're basically teaming up to fight like this evil spirit. But then when there's kind of a twist is that the guy lets his arm get eaten by like the spirit. And he like grows a new one. And he goes, yeah, you don't think I'm not who you think I am. Something about like back in the day when he was first approached by like an evil spirit. But he says something about how he ate like 2 pieces of like flesh that have to do with spirits. And so like, I guess they give him powers. I don't know. But like I said, that's why I'm really intrigued because like the characters are interesting. The premise is interesting. And like the story kind of reminds me of like early Bleach, where you have Rukia and Ichigo running around, running into spirits, teaming up to like fight them, all that good stuff. It kind of reminds me of that, but I definitely have some questions because it's only been 1 episode, and I really want to know like what's happening, you know, like what's the guy's power? I don't know. Like I said, I have questions, but so far it is interesting. Definitely want to watch more. And yeah, I guess the thing I can really say, you know, even though I'm only going off of 1 episode, if you like early days of Bleach, where like I said, it's about Ichigo and Rukia running around town and fighting spirits and teaming up and like that sort of thing, I think you might like this. Because it looks like this is like the kind of anime that we're going to get. Where basically it's about, you know, exercising demons, teaming up, using powers, and the 2 main characters bonding, you know? So I guess that's all I can really say for now, but I am excited to see more because, I don't know, I've heard good things, and from what I saw, it does look very interesting. So unfortunately, you know, I can't share too much, don't have too much details, but if you want to check it out, it's called Spectre, and like I said, I have high hopes for it. I think it's going to be interesting, so, you know, only time will tell. Finally, the last anime I want to talk about is a type of anime that I've described before as being like kind of like my favorite, you know? I love when an anime can take a topic or hobby or sport or whatever, you know, something that I have no knowledge about, something that I don't care about, and yet the anime portrays it in a way where I'm interested in it, and I feel like I've learned something, you know? So the last anime I want to talk about, it's called Smile Down the Runway. And sure enough, even though I know nothing about fashion, I know nothing about like catwalks or fashion design or like Paris or any of that, this anime basically, you know, dives into that world and makes it interesting, you know? Basically, you know, this anime, it follows 2 characters. One is this girl that her dad owns like this modeling agency. Like it's a huge agency, you know, they're all over the place, you know, they have shows in like Paris, all that good stuff. And she wants to be a model. She wants to represent her dad's company. But unfortunately, in order to be a model, you know, you have to be like a certain height. I think they say you have to be like at least, oh my God, I'm not remembering. I want to say they said you have to be like, it's just gonna be a random number. I think they say you have to be like 168 centimeters, let's say, right? Let's just throw that out there. You have to be 168 centimeters. So she's like way too short. And so, you know, like the struggle comes from her to being told like, no, you'll never make it as a model. Doesn't even matter if it's like your dad's company. Your dream will never come true. So that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is that there's this guy that, you know, he's a really timid guy, loves to make clothes. And, you know, even though he's like really good at it, and it shows that he's made, you know, like suits for friends and coworkers and that sort of thing. He comes from a very poor family where it looks like it's just him and like 3 sisters or something like that. And, you know, he says, you know, I can't go to college, you know, I can't pursue fashion designing if I wanted to, because I need to start working. Because, you know, my sisters are depending on me. They have college that they deserve to go to. I want to be there and make the money to like help them out. And so, you know, at the beginning of the anime, basically it's 2 characters that even though they have like the skills or whatever, you know, even though like the girl's a good model, you know, she knows what she's doing. And even though this guy, he's good at making clothes, he knows what he's doing, you know, they're kind of down on their luck because, you know, one for being poor, one for being too short, you know, which is stuff that they can't really control. And so, yeah, where it gets interesting is that by the end of the first episode, these 2 characters meet. You know, the girl loves the guy's clothes. Likewise, you know, the guy says that he'd be honored to make clothes for the girl or whatever. And, you know, the girl says that she is hell-bent on doing what she has to do She doesn't care if she gets, dismissed 100 times. She's going to keep doing her best. And she's hoping that, I know I'm short, but hopefully if I have the right outfit and if I, do what I have to do on the catwalk perfectly, maybe they'll ignore the fact that I'm short and maybe I can overcome this obstacle. And sure enough, the guy makes her an outfit. She goes to this, I don't know what you would call it, a casting or whatever. And it's a casting where they've turned her down 100 times before. Always told her she doesn't have what it takes. But I guess on this occasion, because she just has the confidence and the right outfit, they can't even turn her down, they're damn, she has some sort of something that we need. Okay, you pass. And so by the end of the first episode, the girl, she says that she's going to keep pursuing her dreams. She knows that it's a really rough road, but she's going to do her best to have that confidence and those outfits to really be a model. And likewise, the guy, after she kind of lets it spill that he made the clothes, but everyone thinks that it's the newest piece from the modeling agency, they actually take the guy on as a fashion designer. And they say, hey, people love this new outfit. They thought it was one of ours, but it wasn't. Obviously we don't want to disappoint the public, so we'll hire you right away to make the new outfit and we'll pay you all that good stuff. So yeah, by the end of the episode, it's just nice to see how these two, I don't know if you'd really call them underdogs, the girl, her dad does own a company, but it's nice to see how these two people who are struggling to follow their dreams, they've kind of teamed up and it looks like they're on the road to where they want to be, So like I said, it's weird because I have no interest in fashion. I don't know anything about, catwalks and modeling or anything, but the way the anime does a really good job of, introducing these characters to you and their struggles and the world of fashion, it was very interesting. So there you go. It's called Smile Down the Runway. Hopefully I explained it right. And yeah, I've said it before, I just love when anime do this, where they introduce something to me that I never would have thought of watching. So I'm excited to watch more. So there you go. Alrighty guys, with that being said, anime out of the way, the last thing I want to talk about for my week, I guess, is that I finally watched the movie Zombieland Double Tap. Not really much to say about it. If you've watched the first Zombieland, it's a lot like the first one. What I will say though, is that I was impressed by the chemistry of the cast, it's been 10 years since the first movie, and I know a lot of them, I think basically everyone in the main cast, they're all big time movie stars at this point. Their careers have really grown, and they have no reason to make this movie, but the fact that you can tell that they're just really just hanging out, enjoying each other's company, goofing around and stuff. I think that's what made the movie really fun, So yeah, Zombieland Double Tap. If you've seen the first Zombieland, it's basically more of the same. But I just think that the characters and the chemistry between the actors and stuff, I think it really makes it really fun. And yeah, I just think that it's fun how they just add more to this world, where in the years since we last saw them, you see what they've been up to, how zombies have kind of evolved over time, that sort of thing. But yeah, I give it a thumbs up. I had a lot of fun with Zombieland Double Tap, so I recommend it, Alrighty guys, with that being said, that basically does it for my week. I thought that I was going to have a game to talk about on my week list, but unfortunately it didn't come to pass, which actually leads us into our first news story. So yeah, a little bit of background for this first news story. As everyone knows, for the Smash Fighters, DLC pass, every few months we've been getting a new character, and every time there's going to be a new character, there's a lot of hype, and there's a direct or whatever, and people love to try to guess who the new character will be. And this time around, people were pretty sure that the new DLC character was going to be Dante from the Devil May Cry series. And sure enough, it seemed plausible. There was this whole thing where on Twitter, the official, Devil May Cry Twitter account, they hinted news on the 16th, which is the day of the Smash Direct, and that actually comes up in the news later, so keep a pin on that. But everyone was sure it was going to be Dante, seemed like there was a good chance of it, and sure enough, even I kind of started buying into it. I'm yeah, Dante would be great, that'd be awesome. If they follow the trend as they've been doing with the last few characters, then that means that we'll be able to play the character either later that day or the next day. And so I was excited. And like I said, I was hopefully planning that for this week of the podcast, I would be able to talk about my time playing as the new DLC character. However, when the direct rolls around, Oh man, it was the biggest disappointment ever. No one expected it, but as the title of the article states, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC character, Byleth, from Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fighters Pass Volume 2 announced. So that's right, everyone was expecting either like Dante or this other big third party, character, and instead, everyone like tunes into the direct, everyone's super excited, me included, and no, the last character of the first DLC pass is another Fire Emblem character. And don't get me wrong, I think it's a good character. I do like how it's not just the nurse sword user. With this character, you can switch between different weapons. Like, I think there's like an axe, a spear, a bow, something like that. So it is an interesting character. And I understand why they have this character here. Because, with Three Houses being like one of like the biggest selling Fire Emblem games, like I understand them wanting that representation. But as the last DLC character, it's just so disappointing, And so, yeah, if you check around the internet right now, people are so salty and so mad because, they're so upset that it's another Fire Emblem character. I mean, there's now 8 characters, from Fire Emblem, like in the Smash Bros roster. And I mean, if you look at something like really big, like Mario, for instance, Mario has 9 characters. So it's almost, Fire Emblem almost has as much people as Mario. And Mario's supposed to be like the title character, He's supposed to be like the Nintendo mascot. So you can kind of see why people are a little bit upset. But like I said, I'm not mad at the character itself. I think the character's fine. I just wish that they had switched spaces with probably Banjo-Kazooie. That way, if they reveal the Fire Emblem character in the middle, people would have been upset. But then they could have got over it a little bit, with like Terry, and then Banjo-Kazooie would have been like the ultimate surprise, that sort of thing. So yeah, it was just kind of a big upset for a lot of people. Everyone was excited. And instead, Sakurai just trolled everybody and added another Fire Emblem character. So that kind of sucked. The positive side of this, though, is that they had said that they were gonna release more characters in the future. Like, that is something they said ever since, I want to say it was like Terry, right? I don't know if it was Terry or Hero, but, quite a ways back they had said, like, oh, there's going to be more characters. We don't know how many yet. And sure enough, near the end, they announced Fighters Pass Volume 2, and they said it's going to be 6 characters this time instead of 5. And yeah, apparently they're going to release characters between, let's see, Byleth is going to come out January 28th. So apparently that's when you can buy the second pass. So they're going to release all the characters somewhere between January 28th and December 31st, 2021. So that's the part that's crazy, man. That Smash Ultimate, it's definitely getting a lot of, like, they're getting a lot of content out of it, Like, they're definitely giving it a lot of love. The fact that years later they're still adding stuff to the game, to keep people coming back to it, I think that's really awesome. So, there you go. Even though a lot of people might be disappointed in Byleth, which I just noticed, hopefully I'm saying the name right, but even though a lot of people are disappointed with Byleth being the last character, of this pass, at least there's more characters coming. At least, Smash isn't getting ignored, and it is getting more content. And, oh yeah, one last thing. They announced that Cuphead is getting announced as a Mii Gunner costume. I think it looks great. So at the end of the day, even though the Direct was a bit disappointing, at least there was some positive aspects to it, So, there you go. Alrighty, moving on to the second news story. If you guys remembered, I said to put a pin in the, Devil May Cry related news or whatever. And sure enough, even though people were hoping that January 16th, the Devil May Cry news would be that Dante was in Smash, instead of what we got, even though it is smaller, it was pretty cool. Basically, they've been re-releasing all of the Devil May Cry games on Switch, and apparently coming up for Devil May Cry 3, they're releasing a version called Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition that, they talked about it, and it's pretty cool. They're adding a new style change system, which basically, in the past, Dante, the playable character, he's had different styles you can play as. Each style basically has like a different moveset, that sort of thing. But what's cool is that apparently in this new version, you'll be able to switch between styles on the fly, which means that it's going to be more like dynamic. You're going to be able to do more combos, that sort of thing. So it just looks really cool because basically that means you can switch from, being like super on defense and, doing parries and stuff to just being super about offense and speed, and, it can be all over the place. So I thought that was really cool, even though it's not a big announcement, like, being in Smash, that was still like a pleasant surprise. And yeah, I know a lot of people who love Devil May Cry. When they saw this announcement, they still said, hey, that's pretty cool. I love to try it out. The fact that they're trying new things, with the game that's like this old, but, they're doing like a special edition of it or whatever. Like, that's pretty cool, And so that made people excited, and just want to share that really quick because, yeah, it's kind of funny how this is the news that ended up being the story when people were hoping the story would be, Dante and Smash. But regardless, it's still a cool feature. So there you go. Alrighty, moving on. These next two news stories are pretty short, but I want to share them nonetheless. Basically, I want to share them because I do feel like they kind of tie into the it's been a hard week in gaming sort of theme, So for a lot of people, not only were they disappointed in the, Byleth announcement, and not only were they disappointed in the fact that Dante wasn't in Smash, the announcement ended up being something else. But unfortunately, for all of the people looking forward to a Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out March 3rd, as the title of the article states, Final Fantasy VII Remake delayed to April 10th. So that sucks. I know a lot of people are disappointed. From what I've seen, the good thing is that a lot of people are being very respectful. They're trying to keep in mind that, okay, if they're delaying it, it's for a good reason. Hopefully this gives, Square Enix a chance to polish the game, make sure it's in tip-top condition, that sort of thing. But yeah, it is still very disappointing though, nonetheless. I mean, I know I pre-ordered the game, and when I got like the little email notification from Amazon that said that like, hey, your game's been pushed back, like, I gotta admit, that made me a bit sad. And likewise, it really sucks because I saw some people in like comments, in different forums and stuff, that some people took time off work because they wanted to play this game. And so the fact that the game got delayed, like, that's unfortunate because think about it, like, you're planning to take time off work so you can enjoy the game, and then if the game gets delayed, like, what are you supposed to do? You probably can't like take your vacation time back. So you're just going to have some awkward vacation time without your game. And then when you want to actually play the game, you're back at work. So that sucks. So I do feel for those people, But there you go. As I said, Final Fantasy VII delayed to April 10th. Hopefully, as much of a disappointment as it is, hopefully that means that they, put more time into it, polish it, that sort of thing. So there you go. Of course, that leads us into our second story, which, if you thought that a game being delayed by a month was bad, as the title of the article states, Cyberpunk 2077 delayed to September 17th. So this one, I mean, like I said, it's been a hard week in gaming. Not only was Final Fantasy pushed back, but for anyone who was like super excited about playing Cyberpunk in April, yeah, it got pushed from April back to September. So that sucks. And I don't know, man, it's the same thing. If you look at the article, the people who run the game, they say that they're trying to like work on play testing, polishing, making sure that everything's up to snuff, that sort of thing. But yeah, like I said, it's just been a hard week in gaming because people are looking forward to the game. They think it's like a few months away, and instead it gets pushed back into like pretty far back in the year. So like I said, not too much to talk about. Pretty basic story, but yeah, I mean, if you're a gamer, it's been a hard week in gaming. If you're excited for these games, try to keep patient. Keep in mind that this is hopefully for the better. But, if you're disappointed, I don't blame you. It does suck to see games pushed back. So there you go. Alrighty, shifting gears to movie news. Since the gaming news has been kind of disappointing and made it a little bit depressing, kind of getting some people down, switching over to the movie news, this is a news story, that when I saw it, it actually gave me a bit of a laugh because it just looks really dumb. So, of course, what I'm talking about is that we finally got the Morbius trailer. And yeah, if you watch the trailer for the new Morbius movie starring Jared Leto, it looks ridiculous. Like, it looks really dumb. Basically, from what I understand, because I know nothing about this character, he's some sort of a researcher that he gets bit by, like, some bats, and that makes him a vampire. and he just runs around looking like kind of a jackass. I mean, that might just be Jared Leto. I'm gonna be honest. I think Jared Leto always just kind of looks like a jackass. And he like has these weird powers from like his hands that the visuals look like they're like from like early 2000s. And then he has this power where I guess it's supposed to be like him teleporting, but it looks like he literally stole the power from Nightcrawler. So yeah, man. I mean, we finally got the new Morbius trailer, but it looks really ridiculous. Like the same way that Venom ended up feeling like an early 2000s superhero movie, which isn't a good thing, you know, that means that's like really like visuals aren't great, story is kind of ridiculous, that sort of thing. This one looks like it's going to be really bad. And I don't know, I mean, at least when it comes to Venom, at least the whole buddy, you know, story, at least made it entertaining. And at least Tom Hardy's a good actor. And so he made it worth watching. But when it comes to Morbius, I mean, I don't really know what's supposed to be the saving grace, you know, because I doubt it's going to be comedic, or at least not comedic in that way. And Jared Leto just isn't a very good actor. I mean, I think the only thing I've really seen him in where I would say he was like a really good actor, it's probably like Requiem for a Dream. And that was like a bunch of time ago. So I don't know, man. I think the movie looks ridiculous. I think it looks kind of dumb. And oh yeah, to make it even weirder, not only is it weird that we're getting a Mobius movie, that you look at it and you're like, who's this for? But apparently, it seems to be confirmed that Morbius is actually going to be a part of the MCU. So that's even weirder. Because, you know, there's a part where there's like a poster of Spider-Man and it says murderer, which seems to tie into, you know, Spider-Man Homecoming. And at the end of the freaking trailer, Michael Keaton shows up. So I don't know if that's supposed to be him, you know, as the Vulture. Maybe he's going to try to recruit Morbius, you know, into the Sinister Six. But yeah, to make it even weirder, not only are we getting this Morbius movie that nobody asked for, not only does it look super weird and cheesy, and I think Jared Leto, I mean, I don't know, I don't trust the guy. I think he's like a really like mediocre actor, but apparently it's going to be a part of the MCU, which how they'll add that into the MCU, I don't know. It sounds weird. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because maybe Morbius can introduce vampires. And then that way when Blade comes out, like the idea is out there, I guess. I don't know. As always, feel free to check out the article in the description below and the trailer. You know, definitely some weird stuff, but there you go. Alrighty, switching over to TV news. Not too much of a news story. You know, it's pretty short, but I thought it was an interesting one nonetheless. Basically, as the title of the article states, Jeopardy declares its greatest of all time winner. And yeah, if you read the article, I mean, that's pretty interesting. I know that Jeopardy is always trying to like draw new people in, and they're always like looking to do new things or whatever. And apparently, they had this like competition where they took their 3 best players, you know, like all of Jeopardy history. One of them, I think he was like the longest winning streak. One of them was the like the biggest winner, you know, like he brought in the most money. And the last one, I don't remember what his thing was. I think his was that he won like the most questions, I think, something like that. Like he's gotten the most questions right. And basically, you know, they pitted these 3 guys against each other. And it was to see who was the best of the best. And sure enough, you know, I think they played a few games. And the guy who ended up winning was Ken Jennings, who is the guy who, in the past, he had like the longest like winning streak on Jeopardy. And so I don't know, you know, even though I don't watch Jeopardy too much, like I'm not too familiar with it. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with it. I still know enough about it that, I don't know, when I noticed this article, I thought it was interesting. And I think that's really cool how they did that, where they just like had the champions, brought them all back, wanted to see who was at the top, and, you know, they did it. And yeah, it says right here, you know, Ken Jennings was the victor after playing 4 matches against James Holzhauer and Brad Rutter. And yeah, I mean, he ended up taking home $1 million. And then each of the runners up, they took home $250,000. So, hey, I mean, that's pretty cool, you know? I think that sounds pretty fun. And like I said, the fact that Jeopardy threw this together, where they're kind of trying to figure out who's like the best of the best, I just thought it was a fun story. So, yeah, I just thought I'd share that really quick. I just thought it was, you know, an interesting thing. So, there you go. Finally, guys, my last news story is an anime news story. Or I guess to be more correct, it's the announcement of a manga series getting an anime adaptation. And the reason I want to share this is because this manga is actually one that I've talked about in the past. If you guys remember, quite a while back, I mentioned I mentioned a manga called Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle. And basically, it's this manga about this princess that gets kidnapped and, sent to the Demon Castle. And instead of getting freaked out and instead of being, afraid that she's a hostage, because she loves sleeping, she decides to take the opportunity to sleep as much as possible. And basically, it's like this comedic manga series where, like, every chapter, she's trying to find, like, a new way to make her sleeping better, whether it's like killing these like little demons and using them for like pillow stuffing, or I think there was like a chapter where she basically steals like this artifact that basically puts her like in a coma for a while, just stuff like that, where she's just running around the castle looking for new ways to make her sleeping experience even better or whatever. And sure enough, it's funny because I talked about it in the past, wondered if it would ever get an anime adaptation, and sure enough, we got the news that it's getting an anime series, and it says here that it's scheduled to premiere in 2020. So yeah, there you go, guys. I think it's fun how I talked about the manga, and sure enough, we're getting an anime series. And that's not the first time that happens, where I've either like read a manga or like thought about one and like wondered when it's gonna get like an anime and it's gotten it. So I think that's really exciting. I think that's really fun. I definitely look forward to seeing the anime. And I've talked about it before, but I definitely recommend the manga too. I just think it's a very lighthearted, easy read that's, comedic in nature. So Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle, whether you want to read the manga or you want to wait around for the anime adaptation, anime adaptation's coming soon. So just want to share that because I think it's funny, like I said, that something I talked about in the past ended up popping up again. So there you go. Alrighty, guys, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of another news week. Hopefully, I know a lot of the news was dominated by video game news, but regardless, hopefully you guys enjoyed the different news stories. Hopefully you found one of them to be like educational, informative, entertaining, that sort of thing. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed the news. And, of course, before we, wrap up for the day, one of my last sections that I always like to talk about is the Content Creator Spotlight. And interestingly enough, a couple weeks ago, I did a spotlight on 4 different content creators. And if you remember, I kind of said that, like, man, these are content creators that I used to, like, love their work. And it's a shame that, like, seemingly out of nowhere, they disappeared. And I just want to give up kind of like a little bit of a follow-up that luckily one of them resurfaced. If you remember me talking about TJ the Gamer, I described him as this really awesome video game music creator / rapper, and he was just this awesome guy that was always rapping about like different video games. He's always remixing video game soundtracks, that sort of thing. And I really enjoyed his work. And so when I saw that he kind of just disappeared and his channel was just gone, I was disappointed. But, luckily, TJ the Gamer has reemerged. You can check out his channel. He is now called TeeJayTheRapper and currently sitting at like 6 subs. I think a lot of people don't know that he came back. But yeah, now I guess the difference is that he didn't want to just be stuck in that bubble of gaming. He wanted to show that, he can rap about all sorts of other things, And so that's the difference, that now his content isn't just gaming based. He raps about all sorts of things. He does covers of songs that already exist, that sort of thing. So not really too much else to say. If you heard me talk about him before, basically the same applies, where I just think he's an awesome music maker and rapper and like that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm just happy to see he's back. Like I said, his name is now TeeJayTheRapper. And yeah, since he's only currently sitting at 6 subs, guys, if you guys could go check him out, give him some love, check out his new stuff, I think he'd appreciate it. So yeah, guys, subscribe, like his videos, comment, let him know that I suggested you guys check him out because of, the whole TJ the Gamer channel. And yeah, as always, if you guys show him some love, tell him Wannabe Reviewer sent you. There you go. Alrighty, guys, and with that being said, that brings us to another podcast. That is one more in the bag. Hopefully you guys enjoy this podcast, whether it was me, talking about the different anime that I watched, whether it was me talking about, you know, the hard week in gaming for different gamers, whether it was me talking about like the ridiculous of Morbius, or reintroducing you guys to TJ, this time as TeeJayTheRapper. Hopefully it was something you got out of the podcast, and hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to it, you know? Over on my channel, you know, before we wrap up, I've definitely been doing videos in a different style now. It's with me on camera, using a green screen. You know, it's very different compared to my older videos where I was just like a disembodied voice, but it seems that you guys enjoy the content. That makes me happy. I, you know, will continue to try to get back on that schedule where I'm doing at least one review on Wednesday and, you know, podcast on Friday. And if I can, I would like to bump that up to maybe 2 reviews a week, you know, one Monday, one Friday, one Wednesday, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, you know, until next time, my name is Wannabe Reviewer. You guys can catch me over on Twitter and Twitch. Hopefully later this week on Twitch, I'm going to try to stream the rest of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX because, you know, I'm pretty sure I don't have like that much left of it. And yeah, guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I will try to be back here next week for episode 64. And with that being said, you know, my name is Wannabe Reviewer. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time.
Round 1. Fight! Get over here! Choose your destiny. Flawless victory. Choose your destiny. Flawless victory.
So we're finally here, performing for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you want to clap as we take you through this.
Donkey Kong is here. Donkey Kong is here.
Walnuts, peanuts, pineapples, melon, grape, melon, oranges, the coconut shell. He has. He's the leader of the bunch. You know him well. He's finally back to kick some sense. Here's the coconut gun. Can fire express if he loves ya. He's bigger, faster, and stronger too. He's the first member of the DJ crew.
Donkey Kong is here.
Walnuts, peanuts, pineapples, melon, grape, melon, oranges, the coconut shell. He has. He has no style. He has no grace. This Kong has a face just for you.
Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is here. Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is here. Choose your destiny.
Donkey Kong.
You will never win.
Walnuts, peanuts, pineapples, melon, grape, melon, oranges, the coconut shell. He has. Finally, he's here for you. It's the last member of the DJ crew.
Fire and ninja.
So strong, it isn't fun. Can't make the Pokemon trainer. Can't pick up a beat with relative ease. Makes crushing seem such a breeze. He may have style. He may